Quality 5. Don't be attached. Musicians are like parents. They write a song or come up with some kind of concept and hang on to it like it's a child. And like parents who never want to admit that it's their kid who's the badass and who is always getting in trouble, sometimes musicians don't want to admit that it's their song that is no good. Sometimes it's best to have an old Yeller moment, take the thing out back, and put it out of its misery. But let's say that it is a great song. You can't be attached to that either. When it comes to songs, change happens. Artists who record your songs will change lyrics, phrasing, and melodies. The producers they work with will change the arrangements. The radio stations which play the song, if you're lucky enough to have that happen, will often make edits to fit the song into their tight schedules. By the time your song reaches the consumer, it's not really your song anymore. And it's not just musicians who become attached. I've seen it happen time and time again with managers, booking agents, label owners, and other people on the business end as well. The majority of the time, the attachment is to one act. Listen to me, because if you're in the business end of music, this may be the most important statement of this entire program. Do not become associated with just one artist. If you want a career in the music business, not only should you not be attached to your artist, you must work with multiple artists. I had a friend when I was just starting out who managed an upcoming singer-songwriter. Because I want to protect my friend's identity, I'll call her Jane, and the artist was named Jeff. Jeff was pretty good. He wasn't bad looking, he had good songwriting skills, and he did a good job on stage, with or without a backing band. He was always on the road and constantly writing new material. I liked the guy, but even with his many talents, I told Jane, you've got to get another artist on your roster. You're crazy to put all your eggs in one basket. She was sure about this guy, though, and for the most part, she was right. The project hit its high point when Jane was able to get a big-name producer on board to produce a 10-song album. It wouldn't be cheap, about $80,000, but this guy was the real deal. It was a good rate for somebody at his level, and he was willing to work with the artist to cut down on expenses by giving him both a job in the studio working on other sessions and a place to stay. The album started off great. Songs were great, production was great, and the musicianship was great, thanks to some famous studio guys who heard about the project, really believed in it, and were willing to work for a cut rate. In fact, some of them even signed on to be part of the touring band. But when just a couple of songs were completed, things started getting weird. It definitely wasn't going as smoothly as it should have been. Still, Jane worked hard on it. After all, things in life don't always go where you want them to. And sometimes you have to make the square pegs fit, right? 3, 4, 5 songs were completed, and more problems came to the surface. Jane pushed on. This was her only opportunity. By that time, labels started calling. This thing had a buzz on it, thanks largely in part to Jane and her tremendous work ethic. One label, a major out of New York, was especially interested. The album was finished, the band was in place, and the label was ready to make the deal. A launch party was booked, invitations were sent. The band was paid and had their airfare and hotel purchased, and label management had the date on their calendars. Everything was ready, and all signs pointed to a big success. I remember picking the invitation out of my mailbox that morning and heading to the office to start my day. I checked my voicemail and had a message from Jane. I called her back. "It's over," she said. "What do you mean?" I asked. "The with Jeff hit the fan and it's over," she replied. And by over, she meant everything. No show, no record deal, no anything. I want you to imagine this for a second. You've worked hard with an artist for 2 to 3 years. You put tens of thousands of dollars into his career, completed an incredible album, and even mailed invitations to the album release party, only to have it come crashing down and be over in a matter of moments. So what happened? Remember how kind this producer had been to Jeff? Not only did he give him a great deal for his work, but he had also provided him a job and given him a place to stay in his house. And in the producer's house also lived the producer's wife, whom Jeff had been having an affair with. Jane knew early on, but tried to keep it from everybody. She could have cut her losses and gotten out only with a couple of songs completed, but because she was so attached to this one artist, she pushed on. And when everything came into the open, nobody wanted to work with him. Not the producer, obviously, but nobody else either. Not the musicians, not the label, nobody. And who says there isn't any integrity in the music business? Unfortunately for Jane, because she was so associated with Jeff, this also meant that nobody wanted to work with her either. And that was it for her music career. But let's say she'd been able to keep things under wraps. What would have happened then? Just for fun, let's say the album went gold and Jeff had a pretty good run with it. Maybe a follow-up album that did well too. Well, that would have been great. All things come to an end though. This is a disposable industry we're working in. Being associated with a single artist is like being typecast for a role on television. It's very hard to break out of. And not only that, but you get comfortable and don't keep your edge. What works for one artist, even for a number of years, might be worthless to another. If you ever want to start over again, it's very difficult. To be a good manager, promoter, label, or anything else, you have to remain flexible. And I suggest that you never associate with only one artist. And most importantly, don't become attached. You don't see things clearly when you're attached. Don't get me wrong. I want you to love and believe in the people you work with. They're not the only ones in the music business universe you should be working with, though.